He has to get it's an
Oh.
anti-mustache. It's an anti-mustache mustache. Yeah.
So I would have to do something like this. This is what it looked like with no beard.
So that was what they, whenever people talk about, like, if you're going to make a real Star Trek transporter, right? Like, the concept in Star Trek is they, take a flash image of your pattern, is because what they put you into then is the pattern buffer, which is kind of like a ROM buffer
Yeah.
of where everything was aligned in your body, every molecule, and then it gets reproduced somewhere else from the pattern buffer. And the interesting thing in Star Trek is they go into it in some of the later stuff, or I guess more recent stuff, that you could actually keep someone alive indefinitely in the pattern buffer if you never turned it off. Like, you load them into the pattern buffer,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't age, and when you drop them back out again, they're the same person that you loaded into the pattern buffer. But there's when they went back and did some of the early like, they went back and did that show Enterprise, right, which is supposed to be like really early Star Trek,
Mm-hmm.
like earlier than Kirk. And there's a guy, they talk about using the transporter because it's kind of finicky because it's still early tech.
Yeah.
And dude gets transported back up and has grass from where he was standing got transported with him, is embedded all over his skin.
No.
Because it's early. But yeah, so like that's really interesting that they had, like, a transcription error,
Yeah.
from replicating it back, that they didn't quite get aligned. That's interesting.
Yeah, it kind of feeds into the idea that they're feeding us things that are real through science fiction.
Right.
So, like,
Right.
maybe this really can happen, and they're just trickle feeding us this information. So when when the full information drops, you're like, oh, it's like this thing in Star Trek.
It's like that thing that I saw that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read about
Yeah,
that
that
on
makes
Reddit.
I read it. Yeah, exactly. I saw a thread on Reddit about that.
So it's really interesting. I didn't know I keep calling it transcription error.